Good morning, everybody. We're a little bit late, so sorry. We had some technical difficulties this morning, which we seem to have regularly, but that's okay. And Fran is just finishing up another meeting, so she will be joining us soon. So we'll wait just a second for people to join, and that also will give me time to get my computer running so that I can see comments. How is everybody this morning? It is already 80 degrees at 9:30, which is entirely too hot. Sunday, is it Sunday? I think it's supposed to get over 100. It's going to be hot. Good morning, Miss Pam. How are you today? Where do I need to go? Right there. That's where I need to go. Okay, I hope you guys are sewing in the heat. That's what I'm doing. It's perfect time. I don't have any desire to go outside in the heat. Do you like to be outside in the heat? Okay. I'm almost where I need to be. Sorry, ladies and everybody. Oh, Pam says it's hot there too. Yes, it is. But I honestly don't have a problem with it being hot. Okay, so I'm gonna introduce Reese to you. So Reese, how long have you worked here?
I don't know.
I think maybe 4 months, maybe?
Yeah.
3, because you started before you graduated.
Yeah.
So Reese has been here, and she's mostly here on Saturdays, right?
Yes.
Sometimes she might be here a different day, or she might be gone a Saturday, but she's here on Saturdays. And Reese brings some youth blood to our group. So we love Reese. We're so excited. And she is an amazing quilter, and she just barely graduated from high school. So who taught you how to quilt?
My grandma.
Your grandma?
Yeah.
So how long have you been quilting?
Since I was 8.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you've honestly been quilting
10 years.
the same time as I have, basically. Actually, a little bit longer than me. So that's really cool. Okay, why don't you show us what you brought today?
Oh dear. Okay.
And I can help you hold. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. So this is a Halloween quilt. What do you want to say about it?
It's a shop sample.
So we have this kit in our store. And let's get close and show them some of the fabrics in there. We've got jack-o'-lanterns and moons and stars. And this really pretty floral, which I don't think screams Halloween.
No,
necessarily. But it's really cute.
So it's okay.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Cool. Okay, what else did you bring?
I brought just these blocks.
So what's it from?
Portsmouth.
Okay.
Is the line.
Okay.
Is that what you were asking?
And this is just a project you're working on for
Yes.
yourself. So cute. These kind of muted colors, I would call them muted. Would you call them muted? Are really in. It's so pretty. Do you remember who the fabric designer is?
No.
Okay. We'll look it up and tell you.
And then I make these little towels, so I just brought one.
Those are so cute. And you had some of those kits at our store. So we do sell some of those. How cute is that? So what is this?
It wraps around on your oven.
Oh, like that?
Yes.
Oh, so cute. Can you guys see that? That's really, really pretty. So are the instructions in with the kit of how to do it?
Those are just ones that I've made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. So cute. And tell us a little bit more. What are you doing with your life right now?
I'm going to massage school, so
Very cool.
takes up all my time.
So we're lucky that you get to come with us.
I've been working on this for like 4 months.
Okay. Is it like a sew along, or you're just doing your own thing?
No, I'm just doing it, but
Cool.
school takes up my time.
School is busy. I understand. I hear you. Well, we are so excited to have Reese here with us, and she is so fun. So, okay, so today what we wanted to talk about is just some tips, like little tiny things that you can do to make a difference in your quilting. So, I just wanted to show you some of these, and we'll see how many. We've got several, so we'll see how many we get through today. And we may have to do this again another day. So, one of my tips for you is if I'm ever piecing a piece of fabric that's, that's stitched, that's pieced, okay, so some sort of unit, even like a half square triangle that's pieced, and I'm stitching it to another piece of fabric that's not pieced, okay, it's just this piece is folded because I needed to iron it, but I always put my piece of fabric that's not pieced on the bottom so that when I'm sewing through my sewing machine, I can see what these seams are doing on the top, because I know nothing's going to happen on the bottom. So I do that on the top. And if I have two pieces that are pieced, I do the more finicky one on the top so that I can see what's happening with my seams. So this one, for example, this unit is pieced, and if I was sewing it to this half square triangle, I would put, you know, hopefully if I was sewing the straight edge that's not pieced to this side, I would put that on the bottom and have my half square on the top. But if I was sewing this way, where I've got seams on both sides, if I was sewing this top, then I would put whichever one I was worried the most about. So that's one little tip that I had. Mary, so we gathered tips from all of our employees, and so some of these names you'll recognize for sure. But Mary said, change your machine needle often. After every quilt, it makes a difference. Do you do that?
No.
I am so bad at that. I need to. Now I do use the titanium needles. I don't know which needles you use. So it seems like they do last me a while, but every time I change my needle, I'm grateful. I'm like, why did I not do this earlier? So good reminder, Mary. Also, she says, and I thought this was super interesting, she said she places her ironing board far away so that it forces her to get up and to move.
That's what I do, because I like to snack when I'm sewing, and so then I have to go for a little while.
Then you have to go. See, and for me, I kind of like to build a little nest around me so I don't have to move, and I just swivel in my chair. And I do my big sewing farther away. I have to stand up, or my big pressing farther away. But my little pressing for all my units, I just do really close. So I guess maybe play around with it and see if your body thanks you for standing up more often and changing positions, then maybe that's a really good thing. So that's interesting, because that's maybe personal preference, I think, but a good tip. Okay, Marilyn said press, press, press. And I thought this was interesting because this goes along with another tip that Miss Deanna gave us, which is the difference between ironing and pressing. Do you know the difference between ironing and pressing, Reese?
I feel like I do, but I don't want to be wrong, so no.
So, hang on. So ironing is really pushing your iron down on the fabric and moving like you would do a shirt or a tablecloth or something, right? So pressing is more a lifting and setting, a lifting and setting, a lifting and setting process. And I will say I do move my iron on the fabric, but when I'm moving it, I'm trying to not apply pressure, right? So when you're really moving, because if you've ever done that, you probably have all done it, and you get your piece out and you're like, whoa, that's not a square anymore, you know, or a piece of whatever. Or if you're ironing yardage, you're like, oh, my lines are going like crazy now. So, oh, we've got two of you are loving that or your friends are watching, Linda and Lynette. Are you guys friends? That's exciting. So anyway, the difference between pressing and ironing, but pressing really does make a difference, and pressing all along the way. So, you know, if you sew a half square triangle, you press it. And there are times where you can finger press, but most of the time you want to do a real press on each of your units so that you can put them together. Now, one tip I will say, this is another thing I just thought of, is if I have a whole bunch of things that I've just pressed, and flying geese are a good example. I have a quilter's clapper that I bought here that's, I think it's 8x8. Do you know how big they are? I think they're 8x8. It's just a big square block of wood. If I've pressed a bunch of these and then it's time for me to be done for the day or the night or whatever, and I know that I can't come back to them, I will leave them on my pressing table and I will put that quilter's clapper on top.
Is that what it's for?
Well, you can also use it as you're pressing. You can let it cool down there and it does help flatten your seams. But if I were to leave this flying geese just sitting on my pressing table, it would just slowly curl back up. But I just will leave that quilter's clapper right on top so that if I know that I can't come back to it for a while, and it'll keep my seams nice and flat. So
maybe I need one.
I think you do. And I really have enjoyed the big one that we bought here. So I have some small rectangular ones that I bought a long time ago. But when we got this big square one, I'll link it in the comments so you guys can see it because it's really nice. Okay. Marilyn also says she marks the top left corner of each row so she gets her rows in the right order. And there's all different ways to mark. What's your favorite way to mark?
I have pins that have 1, 2, 3 on them.
Pins?
So I'll just put it on the same side all the way down.
That's cool. I saw somebody who actually put little labels on their Wonder Clips. I thought that was a really good idea. You could Wonder Clip. My aunt, who I learned so many things from, she uses paper tape, which they use paper tape a lot in embroidery, and it removes super easy, but then she writes on the paper tape, and she could just put that paper tape right on a block. The only thing is I don't like to iron over paper tape, so, but that's a good way to mark too. And kind of a flip side of that, Debbie, one of our other employees, says that she marks the back of her blocks. So it's not on the front. So just kind of find a system, because if you can mark things, then that really helps. Lisa, I want to make sure I've got all of these. Lisa gave us the best tip I think that I had ever heard. I never thought about this. She says, I like to make sure I stop stitching for the day at a point that I'm excited to get back to it. If you stop at a frustrating point, lots of unpicking or a block that just won't go together, it's easy to put off going back to it. And I thought that was so smart. I'd never thought about this. Good morning, Miss Sienna. So, yeah, I thought that was so interesting. Have you ever done that?
No, I always quit when I'm frustrated.
I think that's me too. Because you're
throw
like,
it
oh,
in
I'm
and
done
just-
for tonight. And the problem is usually I sew way too late. So then I
Yeah.
start making stupid mistakes because I'm tired. But I thought that was such a good point, is stop when you're still excited. And I love that. So force yourself to sit and unpick a little bit or something a little bit longer so that when you come back, you're like, okay, I already did that hard part yesterday or last night or whenever, and then I'll come back to it. I loved that tip. That was so good. Okay, Erin brought up a good point. She says, X marks the spot. So I try to make my seam darker. Can you see? Because I didn't, this is just a flying geese I had sitting in my sewing room. So I went over my seams so you can see. So what she's saying is, if I'm going to sew this to my piece here, when I'm sewing, I want my seam to go right through that X. And actually, a little tip I've found is I want it to go just one thread higher than that X, so that when I press it back, my point is just right there. So that is such a good point. And even when Reese is sewing these things together, she's got X's right here. If you can see, they look great. But they can't see because it's white thread.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you're looking at it, and that's another reason to put it on the top of your machine. If you can sew right through that X, and you'll never lose your point. Or one thread into the seam allowance. So that's a really good point. Okay, Roxanne said, done is better than perfect. What do you think about that?
Yes, but I can't.
You have to get it perfect? Yeah, and everyone has a different level there of where you're willing to unpick and keep going, or to just say, you know what, I'm done. So that's a good thing to realize about yourself. And
I did make a king size quilt like last month. Did it completely wrong. Like I made the squares and then they're supposed to have a color border, but I did a black border, and I just took it to the quilter. I couldn't.
So I wonder how much that'll bug you once it's quilted. I'm amazed at how things don't bug me once it's quilted. There you go. Give it away. If you don't like it, give it away. That's another good tip. Okay, Laurie, and we talked a little bit about this last week, but Laurie's tip was before you cut anything, read through the whole pattern, make sure you understand everything, which is such a good tip. And honestly, that's something I had to train myself to do. Because I'd get a new project, I'd be so excited, and I'd just start cutting. And then I would sometimes, figure out I made mistakes. So, good point. So Heidi commented to use high quality, low lint thread because it's easier on your machine. And we will tell you that we sell Aurifil here in the store, and it is my personal favorite, and it is a very low lint option. So I'm sure there's other great quality threads out there that people use, but that's just one that we sell in our store. And it's very fine, and not fine. It's still 50 weight, but, more fits on a bobbin, which I do like that too. Yes. And, one kind of personal rule that I have is I have just a couple of colors that I piece with most of the time. Do you piece with something different every quilt? Or do you just piece with the same colors? So I fill 3 bobbins at a time. And then when those 3 are done, I clean my machine. I take it apart, get all my lint out, and clean my machine. That's kind of my cue to clean. And I can tell if I've used a different thread than Aurifil. So yeah. That's one of our tips. Okay, Heidi, I loved this tip that Heidi gave us. She says she buys 2-gallon Ziploc bags, which my favorite place to buy those are the dollar store, by the way. They're not Ziploc brand, but I buy them at the dollar store. When you're collecting fabrics for your quilt. So if you're not buying a kit that's already pre-assembled, then kind of make yourself a kit. And she says you can label those fabrics so that when you come back to it, here's Miss Fran.
We wear so many hats. So many hats we wear. We wear so many hats. But here I am. I missed you guys, and it's almost done. I've missed all the tiny tips, too. So I'm going to have to go over and look at
Yes, you're going to have to watch this.
Oh, there's a test. Oh, I flunked. Oh, gosh. Oh, golly. Oh, gee.
Okay, so when you... And this is something I'm trying to learn about myself, is Liz, write it down, because your brain will trick you into thinking you can remember it. And you can't. No. You get so excited. So she says, kind of make your own kit. If you're gathering your own fabrics, and label that, put it in a 2-gallon bag. Then if you don't get to it tomorrow, you will remember everything you've done. So I thought that was a really good idea to label. So do you want to go through Lynette's tip?
Oh, I would love to. All right. Miss Lynette says, be sure to have plenty of cold Diet Coke on hand and your favorite tunes. Maybe a chocolate would be in order.
Oh, that's the next
one. Oh, Julie. Yep, my girl. Don't forget the chocolates. So I think my best tip for me is just know when I go in that sewing room, that's my happy place. I just need to and enjoy where I am, and not stress too much about my points always being perfect. And I'm trying to learn that. That's a hard one for me, because I tend to want those points right there. But it's not about being perfect. My very favorite things are antique quilts. Favorite scrappy antique quilts. Okay, so look at them sometimes. Mm-hmm. Their points are chopped off. They've used whatever fabric here because they've run out. And they were doing it more because they had to.
Right.
They were using up everything that they had. We don't have to do that. We are using beautiful new fabrics, and they make, hopefully, when you're doing them, they make you happy that you're doing those. So enjoy that whole process. Don't feel like, oh, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make those points perfect this time, because they don't always turn out perfect.
it
And it's
doesn't always
okay.
work out.
It's okay. We just need to learn to relax and enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mine. What else do we have?
So, well, I was going to say,
Oh.
one thing that I've added to my sewing room, and I may have mentioned this on here, is I got an Alexa for my sewing room. And so I love her for lots of reasons. First of all, she can play my books, and she can play music, which I love that. And she does really good math that I don't do. So, hey, Alexa, what is 42 divided by 3.5? And so she does all my math for me, and I love that.
Alexa.
So, anyway, so an Alexa is a good thing. If you don't have one, add that to your Christmas list, maybe, because then you can have your tunes playing.
There you go.
And, well, and then I got to tell another funny story.
Oh, yes, please.
So, my aunt, was this 2 years ago? I can't remember if it was, I think it was 2 years ago. She came and did a surprise makeover on my sewing room for me while I was out of town. I was gone. And she came and did a whole makeover on my sewing machine, which organization is not one of my strong suits. And so I appreciated her doing that. And one of the drawers, she's very good at labeling all the drawers. And so she labeled where everything was, which was so nice. And one drawer, I come home and it's labeled as spiders. And I thought, oh, how many spiders did she find in my sewing room?
I'm not looking in that drawer.
And I open it, and it's all my snacks and my gum and my things like that. So we've just left the label on there as the spider drawer. And so now my kids will come in and say, Mom, what's in your spider drawer? And so I think it'll always be the spider drawer because it's my snack. So that's cute. It's fun to do little cute things like that. So that's a good one. Okay, Reese, I think you should tell your own tips.
Okay. I don't know.
What did you tell us?
I said always turn your hand wheel towards you when you're raising your needle. I don't know why, I just learned it.
That's good. She says it doesn't mess up your timing.
Yeah.
It doesn't mess up your timing, and it also doesn't suck all those threads down in when you first get started. So when you're turning it backwards, so here's what's happening. Here's your bobbin case down here. You turn it forward and your bobbin is going to spin correctly. When you go backwards, it also goes backwards, and then it wants to throw your threads all in there. So turning it towards you, good tip.
Very good tip.
Yes, nice.
And I love this next one. That Reese said.
This is
I
good.
said to take a picture of it so that you can see it better.
And this works in your units. I mean, you can take pictures at this stage all the way to your full quilts. And I think that is such a good idea. My mother-in-law, I felt so bad. She had finished this quilt. If she'll probably watch. Anyway, she finished this quilt and she sent me a picture, and instantly I saw something. And then I showed it to my husband and he saw something different than what I saw. So when you're looking at that big picture on your phone, it's always just a good idea to look at it and see your picture. The other tip that I like too, when I'm picking colors, is to take a picture, turn it to black and white, and you see shades and variations that you couldn't see before. So, your phone is a very good tool in quilting. You never thought about that, huh?
It really is.
Okay. Do you want to talk about this one?
Oh, I would love to talk about this one. So this is Miss Deanna's tip, and this is an amazing tip. So Deanna says, my tip is the By Annie stiletto. I love it. It is that extra finger when I sew. So sometimes when we start to sew, your machine is going to automatically try and pull that fabric.
It one way or the other.
One way or the other. That's just how it gets going. One way to kind of help with that is to have, I call it a Harry, a leader and an ender in there. Sometimes I can sew another block and have that going on, but not always. If I'm in a hurry or I've got to get that done, I use Harry. And Harry is just a little tiny strip of fabric that just gets run over and over and over when I start and when I finish. So, but if you're not doing that, you want to use a stiletto, and you're going to use it at the very beginning. You're just going to hold on to the very side of your fabric when you start, and then hold on to it again in the bottom. When you get down to the bottom, some of us say, well, gosh, my 1/4 inch in the center of my block or my piece looks great. but at the top and the bottom, it's a little ski-wampus. It's because that's how your sewing machine automatically wants to pull your fabric. It just does. So by using a stiletto, an extra finger have I.
Yep.
Yep.
Or a
Great
point
tip.
that you're really trying to make sure
Oh.
you've had to pull out your pins maybe and just get that stiletto right in
Right
that
in
fabric
that.
and it just holds it.
Yes.
Anything thick. When I do my machine binding, I have my stiletto just right next to me.
Yes.
Because it just really, really helps.
It
so
does.
it's a very good tool.
It is an excellent tool.
So we already talked about that one. Okay, so we would like to try something new on this video. I haven't run this by Fran yet.
Oh, that's a surprise. I like surprises.
So we're going to go through and I'm going to make a document with all of these tips. If you will comment on this video, I will send you the document. So, but you have to comment in order to get the thing. And I haven't put it together yet, so give me a couple days to do that. But anybody who comments on the video will get our document with all of our tips on it. And I know some of you have these, and I know some of you even disagree with some of them, because what works for everybody or somebody doesn't always work for everybody.
This is true.
When I was a very new quilter, I would stay up late at night and watch YouTube videos. And that's one of the ways that I learned. And I found that you can find a video to tell you any way you want to do it.
This is true.
You can tell someone who tells you you have to steam and you have to press. And you can tell someone who never steam. And you can find someone who says, always use starch. And someone who says never use starch. So anyway,
Personal
you guys.
preferences.
Joy wants it. Joy wants the document.
You
so
got it,
our
girl.
tips, we're going to come up with a fun name for it. But anyway, thank you, Joy. Thank you for commenting. And Lynette wants it too.
Oh, good.
And comment on here with any tips that you guys have.
Yes, please.
Because
yes, please.
these are all really simple things that just
make your sewing life easier.
Yes. Yes. And then we commented on this a while ago, Deanna and I did, but pick something that maybe you're struggling with and just have that be a goal for a little while and stick with that. For example, that seam thing that Fran was talking about, how the beginning and the ending of your seam. So maybe think, okay, for July, I'm going to really focus on my beginning and my ending of my seam. You don't have to focus on anything else. Just one thing at a time to make yourself just a little bit better. I think it's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea.
So,
I sure do.
Anyway, we were excited to see these, and I especially loved Don't Forget the Chocolate. I think that was really important.
That's really important because you got to keep your energy up while you're sewing.
Yes,
right?
yes,
absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely.
I was trying to think if there was anything else.
Great tips.
That I was gonna say. I don't think there was anything else. So. Anything else you want to add, Fran?
No, I'm just glad to finally get to be here. I had a shop hop meeting this morning is where I was off to, and I'm really pretty excited about what's going on. We'll talk about that a whole bunch later.
We will.
But
we prepare all year for shop hop,
we really do.
So thanks those of you who joined us. So we have Lynette, we have Joy, we have Linda, we have Pam.
Oh, my
So thanks so much. And we have more of you watching that haven't commented. So anyway, and I think Fran will be here next week. I'm going to be gone, so we're going to have to find someone else. I have a couple of summer vacations planned, so
I let her take vacation so she'll stay around. Otherwise, they quit on me. So I have to say, yes, you may have time off.
So next week will be Fran and probably Deanna, but we'll double check with that. And then, anyway, so I hope you all have a great week.
Yes.
Go ahead and finish.
Yes. Okay, so my finish, like I always finish. So I just want to tell everyone to be kind to one another. And most of all, you know what? Be kind to yourself. We tend to pick at ourselves, I think, more than anybody else. So also in that saying, be kind to yourself. We hope you all have a great week, and we will see, well, some of us, not Miss Liz, but some of us will get to see you again next week. And thank you again so very much for joining us. So have a great week, folks.
Bye.
Bye.